Radio Network.
It's all groovy with Robbie the Shark. Thursdays from 8 to 9 p.m. Listen at your own risk.
You may be owed some money. After 911 and 411, call 541. That's 727-541-1741. Call Gulfstream Motorsports for a diminished value report. Due to my 28 years experience in the auto salvage business, I'm very good with wrecks. So if your car's been involved in a wreck, call me for a diminished value report. Call 727-541-1741. You may be owed some money for the lost value of your repaired vehicle. And visit us at GulfstreamMotorsports.com.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Bria here at Joy on Paper Radio with your Sci-Fi Hour. And we have got an incredible guest here with us today, Glenn L. Erickson. Glenn, welcome into the studio. It is so wonderful to have someone face-to-face. Normally, I am on the phone with someone, so I don't get to see their face. Anybody watching on the YouTube channel or on Facebook Live on my Facebook page, Bria Burton Writer, you will see the two of us sitting in the studio and having this awesome conversation that I cannot wait to get into. I just want to shout out to Patsy Gill, the host of Joy on Paper, and thank her again for this opportunity that she has given me to present you all with a monthly sci-fi hour. I have had so much fun doing these once a month, and I hope to continue doing them for quite some time. So here we are with Glenn, and you may recognize Glenn's voice if you've been listening to the radio show for any length of time. Glenn, you have a couple of ads that you do the voice for.
Yes, I do.
And so as you hear him talk, you will probably think to yourself, that's a familiar voice. And if you didn't know, Glenn is an author, and he is here to talk about a book that is a lot of fun. It's called Murder on Mars, and it's going to be widely released soon. But as of right now, it's on Smashwords.
Yes, it's on Smashwords. It's being shifted over to Draft to Digital. It will be available shortly there. If you go to Smashwords, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, any place like that, you can find any of my books.
Awesome. And so as we're going to get into this, I just want to learn a little bit more about you as an author. When did you start writing? Who were some of the influences that you had? Was it, I've been writing since I was a kid, or no, he's shaking his head no if you're not watching live?
No, I've read science fiction or speculative fiction or murder mysteries most of my life. I used to read an Agatha Christie a day sometimes.
Oh, those books are so good. They're so digestible. You can just, really get into those.
I've Isaac Asimov and others. I've read hundreds, maybe thousands of books that are science fiction, speculative fiction. But it was when I was sitting at a customer site waiting for somebody to fix a machine that I had an idea for a novel. And I just started writing it.
You were an adult at this time?
Oh, yeah. This was 2010, something like that.
Okay.
I was sitting there and I had an idea and I was playing with it in my mind. And I just decided to start writing down the ideas about it, and while waiting for somebody else to get their job done. And it just blossomed from there. And then as I finished that novel, I came up with another story and another story. And then I came up with a couple of self-help books because my son made a comment one time that he'd love to win the lottery, so he never had to work a day in his life. I'm going, no, you don't. So I started writing a book about that was going to be tongue-in-cheek about winning the lottery, but it became a serious effort. And it's actually called The Lottery Winner's Handbook. And the very first sentence in the book is, this is not a book on how to win the lottery. It's for those of you that are unfortunate enough to have won the lottery.
Oh, that's a great opening.
It carries it out from there. And it's a self-help book, and it's actually been sold. People have been buying it.
Oh, Oh my goodness.
I'd love to know who they are because they never reply or they don't respond.
They don't want people to know who they are, probably.
Which is part of the advice I give.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible.
So it just blossomed from there.
And so were you in the midst of a career and everything, like, writing was not your main career?
Writing is not my main career. I mean, I do a lot of writing in my business. I own two. And I do technical writing, software programming, so forth. But this is my recreation, my imagination. I'll read other people's books and I'll get a germ of an idea and I'll sketch it out. And sometimes they just don't pan out. I just delete them because they're just too far out of my comfort zone.
So you actually delete them. I've talked to some of the authors who have a file where they'll say, okay, I can't do anything with this, but I'll just set it over here. Who knows? Maybe one day that'll show up in a book that I don't expect. I'm like that. I can't delete stuff. I have to have a file. Like, if I've written it, I want it to go somewhere.
Well, I do have a couple of the idea ones that I started that are just tucked away.
Okay.
But the ones that I deleted were just so far afield that I just, they were not.
They were more just an exercise.
They were just too weird. Too weird. And then one I was writing prior to this Murder on Mars is about a man that they find the United States lands or finds an alien spaceship. And I guess this guy is brought in to help because he understands technology, finds out that the ship is capable of sentience, brings it to sentience, and the story goes on from there. It just, the story took a turn at one point and became almost X-rated.
Oh.
And I went, whoops, sorry, time out, backed up 2 chapters, ripped those parts out, deleted the one character that caused the left turn, and then moved the story on from there. And the story turned out very well. And I thought I had saved the X-rated version or R-rated version, but I can't find it.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so when authors talk about how stories almost take on a life of their own, that's a little bit of what you're describing, where you had no expectation or even a plan to write a certain way, and the story and you went, nope, we're not going that way. That is so fascinating. I think even as a writer who does that, I still find that concept fascinating of the feeling that the character takes over and you're just documenting what they're doing, not as if you're inventing them, but you're just going, I'm along for the ride with this character.
Well, it's like life. If you're in life, you don't know what you're going to meet. You don't know if you're going to encounter road rage. You don't know if you're going to encounter somebody in a store. What direction your life will change because of that encounter. Well, the same thing with my characters. As I live through my characters, I'm seeing their situation through my eyes, taking into account what attributes I've given the character. Then as I'm writing, something will occur, and how would I react to that? Or how would they react to that as a real person? And it goes off, and sometimes it doesn't work, and I delete it, and I'll move into a different direction. But it goes in directions, a lot of times, I never expected. And it turns out better than what I had thought I had planned.
Yeah.
I'm what they call a pantser, meaning I write from the seat of my pants, and I just let the story take me where it goes. And it's worked for a lot of times. The Murder on Mars, I tried to be a little more organized, didn't work. And the one I'm working on currently, I'm trying to remain as factual as possible.
Okay.
But it turns out that it's boring because I'm being technically correct in everything that I do, but still imagining future events. And I've temporarily shelved it because I don't know where to take it at this point. So they develop themselves, and sometimes I am totally amazed by the direction they take.
And so you've got, your initial story that you wrote and put out, and then what led you to write science fiction in particular?
Well, I started out with science, or what I call speculative fiction.
Okay, yeah.
It's science fiction, but I try and keep the science factual. No magic swords or spell
which would head us into fantasy, if that.
But The closest I come is matter transport is the closest I come, and faster than light travel. I don't try and explain it.
Yeah.
I just use it as
Okay.
a matter of fact.
Mhm.
It'd be like trying to explain electricity to an Aborigine.
Sure.
You can't.
Right.
So I just use it because people accept that things either could be possible, and they accept that it could be possible, or it's been exposed to it for so long, they assume that somebody's going to be smart enough to figure it out someday.
Right. Yeah.
So I keep my stories as factual as I can, or as scientific as I can, without getting boring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No calculus, I promise. And I've lost my train of thought.
Well, so that's what got you into sci-fi. And then when you started publishing, what was the decision to go traditional or indie? When did you start making a decision about how you were going to put these books out into the world?
I've never considered going the traditional route. That part is too restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
The genres they want have to follow a certain formula.
True.
You have to follow certain formats. And to be honest, my early stories were not that good. They've improved over the years. Their framework is the same, but the writing has improved to where I think they're better than they were. And the people that buy them seem to agree.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to fight my way through a traditional publisher didn't appeal to me. I don't have the time or the energy. I did a self-publishing. The negative to self-publishing is I'm one of millions upon millions of books published every year, and I really don't stand out in a crowd until somebody can promote that is knowledgeable, like we're doing here. And people will go, maybe I'll look him up and see if the story's any good. And then if it is any good, they'll tell their friends or give the book to somebody else. I'm not really looking for fame. I'm just looking to empty my mind of the stories that I have and to come up with new ones.
I understand completely.
And they're kind of fun to do.
Yes, yes. And so when you publish, you mentioned Smashwords. Is that kind of your go-to starting point?
I tried another one called Lulu at first, but their process seemed negative to me. It was not attractive. I found Smashwords, and what I liked is that they helped format my first book to make sure that the chapters worked, that they related to the table of contents, and that it followed a formula that worked for them. And since I knew they knew
meaning
more
the
than I
digital
did,
copy someone would get, all the links would work, and you'd click a chapter and it would actually take you there.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it was a bit of a struggle at first, but it helped produce the book in a readable format, and I still enjoy reading them. So they also distribute to a large Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Sony, a bunch of other places, accesses that I would never have if I was to try and just go out and stand on a street corner with a sign going, I've got a book for sale.
Now, are you exclusively ebook, or do you also have print copies?
I have one print book I printed on Amazon. Amazing, I got that messed up.
It's okay.
I published one on Amazon about a man falling in love with an android who didn't know it was an android until partway through the story. And the story worked out well. The first time I published it, I read it when I got my paper copy, and I immediately withdrew it from circulation because I found massive errors that I hadn't known were there. Worked on it feverishly and republished it just a week later. Much happier with that copy. But that's my only hard copy. Now, Smashwords has been moved over to draft to digital.
Okay.
They only put out in one electronic format. I don't remember what it is. And I can have the opportunity to print hard copy, paperbacks.
Paperbacks, yes.
I can do paperbacks. I'm actually half tempted to order about a dozen of each of them. That will give me a chance to put on a back blurb and so forth, and then be able to hand them out to people from time to time, or go to a conference and sell them from a table.
Yes,
to
yes.
get wider exposure.
Yes, so I'm not sure if you know Sheila McNaughton. She is a mystery author here in the Tampa Bay area. She and I go to the Gulfport Indie Fair. It's an outdoor market in Gulfport. We go once a month on the third Saturday, and we sell our books. And it's one of those things where you are kind of standing there, hey, here's my book, I'm on the corner, but you're with the market. So it's not like you're just by yourself throwing books at people. And I have to tell you, we have a blast doing it because people want to talk, and we get all kinds of people coming up to us, and we are both very extroverted. And so we will just, hey, who are you? Come here, let's chat. And we start talking, and you learn about people's lives. And hey, maybe you want to buy my book, maybe not, but it's fun to talk to you. And so the neat thing is just mentioning to someone what my book is about will get them talking, and you'll learn things about people, and then they'll go, well, shoot, it's been nice to talk to you. I want to buy your book. And it's a really fun time. So
I want to talk to you more about that offline.
Yes, I was going to say, I would love to connect with you about that event that goes on every month in Gulfport.
Outstanding.
And there's other events Sheila and I often look for and see if there's been library events where they have local authors showcased and stuff like that. So if you do get your book in print and want to bring it somewhere, there are opportunities in the Tampa Bay area, which is wonderful for authors.
Right.
And any authors listening, same thing. You can look up these different events and find places for your book. And if you want to publish like Glenn and go into Smashwords, which I guess now is Draft to Digital.
Go directly to Draft to Digital. I don't know. I've not tried to publish in their format yet, so I don't know how much different it is. But from what I understand, Smashwords will be no more once they complete the transitions.
It's like they bought them out and they've become Draft to Digital.
Dade bought them out, I believe. And once their house has been cleaned, they will be closed.
Now, let's get into your book, Murder on Mars. So this is your most recent novel.
Yes.
And as I was reading it, I was thinking, okay, there's a bit of military sci-fi in there. There's a bit of mystery. Like you mentioned reading a lot of Agatha Christie. There's a lot of mystery elements, but it reads like a thriller.
Good.
Was that the intention in terms of your genre, like a sci-fi thriller with some military sci-fi thrown in?
Partially. Mainly the book club, the writers club I belong to, Pinellas Writers, has been encouraging me to include more dialogue in my books. I was using a little too much expository, right? So I concentrated on being more conversational in this.
I see exactly what they were telling you, and the dialogue is very effective in this book.
It's based upon my experience in the military. It's based upon what I've written before, what I've experienced. I'm a fan of SpaceX.
I love watching.
Following what they do.
I don't know where you live in this area, but there are different spots where if I happen to be, for example, I'm a runner. And I was running over the Treasure Island Bridge just after sunset, and there was clearly a launch, and I was going, oh, I have like the best view of this right now from this area. It was so cool to be on this bridge, this little drawbridge, looking up and seeing a SpaceX. I don't even recall which one it was, but it was a very cool thing to see in the sky. Talk about sci-fi lovers' dreams living here in Florida where you can actually see some of this stuff.
I never managed to schedule myself to see a live launch for some reason. I'm always, it already happened. The whole idea I tried to do here is I wanted to portray a story that people would believe, that was not far-fetched. It has an error in it that I need to correct.
I don't know if I caught the error.
It's a math error. I
don't often do the math. I know other people do. You'll get your readers, right, who will comment and say, now I loved your book, but you had a mathematical error.
Actually, I have a challenge to anybody that does read the book. Find the error. There's a link at the back of the book that will let you contact me and tell me where you found it.
I love that.
I
love that. So as of right now, if they're looking for the book, where do they get it?
They can go to Smashwords, Draft to Digital, Barnes & Noble.
So they really can get it widely.
Yes.
Okay, so this is ebook format.
It is ebook only.
Meaning you can get it on your Kindle, your e-reader of any kind.
It's in an EPUB format in Draft to Digital. Smashwords, it's in PDF, text, any way you want. for now. I don't know if it's been completely transferred or not.
And the title is Murder on Mars.
Correct.
And the cover is very evocative, I will say. Who does your cover art?
There's a man in Canada named Rick McKenzie who does my covers. I just sent him another one to do. That I found the picture of Mars on a website where I could buy the picture. And I told him what I wanted to have done to it. And that's all he did, is he basically added the blood to the image of the deep
It's a visceral image. I mean, it almost makes you cringe a little bit when you look at it.
It was an instant winner
In the
with
best
the Writers
sense.
Club. Yep, in the Writers Club. It just worked instantly for me. I hope his next one will be as good.
So you're obviously going to use him again.
Oh, yeah, I've already done it, but he's on vacation.
I see. Yes. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. The whole idea is that it's a story of mystery and ultimately in well-earned revenge at the very end of the book. And the guy gets the girl.
Yeah, I love it. It was a lot of fun to read. And I will say the dialogue piece, shout out to the Pinellas Writers Group. It was actually Lee Summerall who sent me your info and said, have you had him on the show? You should interview him. And I went, I will. And I somehow missed that you had been on the show before. So this is not your first appearance at Joy on Paper, but it is your first appearance at Sci-Fi Hour, which is a lot of fun. So you've been able to sit with Patsy and chat with her about previous books.
Yes.
Well, what else do you want people to know about Murder on Mars?
I want feedback from them as to whether it's believable, where I left something out so that I can improve it, or where I've got a little overbearing, where I could either spice it up or add something to it, or if they even have questions about the science that I describe.
Yes, because
if it's possible.
Without spoilers, the main character, no surprise, ends up going to Mars. So that's where the main story is set on Mars. And it's clearly a colony that has been developed, meaning he's not the Martian by himself. He goes into this.
There are hundreds of people there. The colony is well established, but it's gotten to the point where they actually found life on Mars in this book.
Right.
And it was a pink mushroom. But if you dried the mushroom, it became a hallucinant, a strong hallucinogen. And
that's a very important
gram,
piece of this. It's a very important piece of the story to have this mushroom that's a hallucinogenic.
Right. So naturally, a drug cartel tried to take it over, and they're not very nice people. And this guy is hired to find out this cartel, dig it out, and also avenge the murder of his friend.
And this character, I will say, he is a very compelling character. He has, I wanted to say, maybe Native American origin.
Yes.
And he is kind of almost like a Jack Reacher type guy, just very, military gruff, like gets the job done, but also, has that heart of gold. He was a really fun character to follow.
Right. He had troubles in his life that caused him to have problems, but because his wife was murdered at one point. But he explained in the book what he did about that and how it affected him, and then how this event on Mars also affected him.
Right,
helping him to overcome some of the life events. He's
very richly developed. It makes for such an awesome story when you can just follow a character that you have so much development. Well, I can't believe we're already at the end of the half hour. This has been such a blast. I feel like we could talk and talk and talk. So thankfully you do live in the area and we're going to keep connecting and hopefully even connect over some book signing stuff, which I am so excited about. Let the people know listening, what website can they go to find you?
I don't have a book website at all. I have a Facebook page I really don't go to. But you can connect with me at gerikson146 at Gmail. if you have
Yes,
questions.
yes. Send direct emails. That's
If you want to,
awesome.
I will answer the emails as long as they're polite.
so let's be polite. And Glenn, thank you so much. And I want to thank Big Ed in the studio for hosting us here for Sci-Fi Hour. And coming up next, we will have Zachary Wheeler for the top half of the hour calling in, and it's going to be a blast. Thank you again, Glenn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Big Ed. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be back in just a few. Talk to you all very soon.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Looking for inspiration? Looking for something that will intrigue you? Then this book is for you. Jim Lamb's poems start out as caterpillars, creepy, crawly, and raw. Then a miracle happens as they transform into colorful, bright, and conspicuous works of art. You can find Jim's new book of poetry, Hurting Butterflies, at Amazon.com. It's the perfect gift for the book lover in your life, even if it's you. Hurting Butterflies, the perfect holiday gift, available on Amazon. Get Hurting Butterflies.
Do you dread being called on to speak at meetings or family functions? Have you envied those who can sway an audience with well-chosen words? Do you know that people who speak well earn more money, earn more rewarding careers? Gain the confidence to master any speaking situation. Toastmasters will allow you to find your voice. Go to toastmasters.org to locate the club nearest you.
Are you an author, an artist, an inventor? Then you need to protect your valuable intellectual property. You need Larson & Larson. We have the experience and knowledge to help you with all of your legal needs, from processing trademark, copyright, or patent applications to negotiating licensing agreements and handling litigation. The attorneys at Larson & Larson in Largo, Florida can help protect you. Call us today for a no-cost consultation at 727-546-0660 or visit our website at larsonpatentlaw.com.
Have you ever faced disaster? The Red Cross is always there for you. The Red Cross responds to a call for help every 8 seconds. They have never turned anyone down. Now they need your financial support so that they can be ready to help you when the need arises. Donate online at redcross.org. Thank you.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Bria at Sci-Fi Hour here at Joy on Paper Radio, and we are back for the top half of the hour with a new guest, Zachary Wheeler, and we will be chatting with him in just a minute. But first, Big Ed, do we have that book buzz to play for his book?
Hello, fellow sci-fi readers. This is author Bria Burton reporting for Joy on Paper with your science fiction book buzz. Today's Communique to Galaxies Near and Far includes a 2021 sci-fi humor series starter, Roy, the most chaotic midlife crisis in cosmic history. This is book 1 of the Pookie Horpocket Presents series. Now, let's download the book buzz. Investigative reporter Pookie Horpocket is on the hunt to solve one of the galaxy's great mysteries. What caused Durrangani Space Station, the largest in the universe, to come to a complete standstill? The crisis is known as the Incident. Through tireless interviews, Pookie Horpocket discovers that a bipedal humanoid alien lizard named Roy is at the heart of the mystery and the likely instigator of the incident. Roy is a plumber on the station who sends alimony to his ex-wife and the children she refuses to let him see. Being a middle-aged divorcee doing hard labor in the slums of a space station leaves him ripe for a midlife crisis. An adventure, maybe? Something a little dangerous? Those closest to Roy didn't know exactly what led him to do what he did, but somehow the now-missing alien lizard became a hero in the midst of everything. Pookie Horpocket is not convinced and will stop at nothing to discover exactly how Roy brought the station to a standstill and maybe even find out what happened to the missing Roy. This humorous sci-fi romp is a wild roller coaster of wit, wordplay, and allegory featuring sharp-tongued aliens and the weirdest defensive mechanism in the galaxy. Pookie Horpocket is a literary titan with a loyal fandom that stretches across the universe. His merits are unchallenged, unsurpassed, and unquantifiable. Zachary Wheeler is a human author, an award-winning science fiction novelist, screenwriter, and shutterbug. He enjoys casual gardening, serious gaming, and wandering the wilds of New Mexico. This is Bria Burton with your Futuristic Fiction Fix, signing off.
Okay, and I believe we have Zachary on the line. Zachary, welcome to Sci-Fi Hour.
Well, hello. Thank you very much for having me.
I am so thrilled to chat with you today. I had so much fun reading your book. It is hysterical. I just want to start by saying this book buzz that you just heard, I don't know if I pronounced some of the words correctly. So if I did anything incorrectly, will you pronounce the station name so that we can all know the proper way to pronounce it?
Oh, I absolutely love that book buzz. You actually nailed everything. I was so impressed. So it was like perfect across the board, no notes.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that, because I was thinking, I wonder if I've just butchered all the names. And it's one of those things where when you're reading a book, and I imagine everybody listening, you're reading a book and you have in your head, this is how this is pronounced. And then let's say the movie comes out and you hear something pronounced a different way and you go, well, that just totally changes how I picture that thing now, because it's not how I thought. So I'm thrilled to hear. I had this exact same experience when I started, because I got an audiobook contract with a production company that started doing a lot of my series. I love it.
And that's when I realized that, I have made up a whole lot of words that no one has actually heard. So there was a lot of back and forth with that.
Yeah, you probably have to send a lot of notes for that, right?
Yep.
In fact, I will just tell you, one of the phrases that made me laugh out loud was the flink that flarked the plumbo. Is that right? That one, I just started laughing. I thought that was such a great one. And there are several other alien phrases that you, in the book, the character, Pookie Horpocket, will explain. This is not perfectly translatable into the human language, but it's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. And it's these wonderful little interjections throughout the whole book. So let's start by talking a little bit about you as a writer. What got you into science fiction? What got you writing in the first place?
Oh, that's a very roundabout story that got me into writing.
Okay.
Never set out to be a writer, and I'll do my best to summarize. But I went to school to become a programmer, which I did back in the 90s. Graduated with a computer degree and started that career. And what I didn't realize was that programming has a lot of writing into it. You kind of need a good grasp of language in order to do your job, because, it's not enough just to stare at code all day. You have to be able to translate that code into meaningful user instruction, into wikis, into documentation, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I had been doing some writing for a long time. Plus, I was already a science fiction nerd. I mean, Douglas Adams has been my favorite author since childhood.
I am not surprised considering what you've written. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can see. Like the whole Max and the Multiverse series and the Pookie Horpocket Presents series is just one big ode to Douglas Adams.
I can see that completely.
Trying to pick up where he left off, and hopefully I'm doing an okay job. But in writing, the doing a lot of writing for programming, another thing that happened was the craft beer movement exploded. And that seems like an absolutely out of left field segue, but
not at all. Not to a writer. Keep going.
That's right. So I was a programmer, and I was also into craft beer at the time, and I realized that I can just create my own review site as a competitor to a lot of the other sites, and that became a passion project, so to speak, and 1,000 reviews later is like, I'm actually kind of getting good at this. And I had kind of honed a lot of my writing chops, and I thought I'd take a stab at fiction because I had an idea for a book. And so I wrote it, having absolutely no desire to publish it, having no ambitions whatsoever.
Oh, interesting.
I just liked the project. And I got to the end and decided, I wonder if this is good enough to publish. And I started getting feedback, and the answer was absolutely not. It sucked. So I just thought, okay,
I know exactly what that feels like.
Yes. So I got to the point where I was like, okay, well, that was a fun project. I'll just shelve it and go on to something else. Well, it just kind of, that little needle in the back of your brain, just like, I guess I can try and improve this. That's when it started delving into, okay, I'm going to look up tips. I'm going to read more. I'm going to kind of take a really good stab at this. And then it finally got to the point where it was decent enough to publish. I got decent feedback. I got good editing. I got good feedback from agents. And that became Transient, which is the first book in the Immortal Wake series. And that's when it all began and I've just kind of ridden the wave ever since. Well, I should caveat that shortly after I got Transient published, it got optioned for a feature film. And that sparked a massive wave of interest that I've basically ridden ever since. So.
Oh my goodness. Now, are you traditionally published or indie published?
Indie published.
Okay. How did that come about where you were optioned for a film? Is that something you submitted to?
No, this was another absolute left field, was not expecting it situation so I had been in bands for most of my life. I had fronted some rock bands. I did some touring. So
what are you singer, instrument?
Lead singer, lead vocals, lead guitar, lead vocals. But in the studio, I'm everything. I write everything. I record everything, and then I get like a touring band. Now, this was like me 10 years ago.
Okay. That's a neat fun fact about you.
But the whole point of that was, or the whole point of saying that was that self-promotion was kind of a non. It didn't frighten me. I already knew what to do to kind of get in front of eyeballs. So I started going to Comic-Cons and literary events to promote the first book. Well, it just so happens that one of the Comic-Cons I went to, a couple of producers were there looking to get some ideas for a new film series. They liked the idea for my book. I had all my pitches ready, and they bought one of the books, but of course, no idea who they were. Absolutely no idea who they were. When they were talking about making a movie, I thought they were like the parents of film school students.
That is too funny. So you were there actually selling your book, or just attending the Comic-Con?
Oh, I was there selling my book. I had a booth.
You had your own promoting booth. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And had no idea that we're both major producers, one of which is actually an Oscar-winning producer.
Oh, my goodness.
That was based out of L.A. So it's just like, I had no idea who they were. So the next week I get, a call from one of the producers. It's like, hey, we would like to option the book. Would you be interested? And at that point, I started researching who they were, because I had, this was all brand spanking new world to me. So that's when things got real. And it kind of started the wheels that I've been kind of on board ever since. So that's hopefully a very weird, roundabout, odd story of how I came to start writing as a side career.
It fits so well with your whole persona and the books. I love it. And so is this one of those things where even currently to this day, this novel is on option? Like somebody one day could decide, I'm going to pick up that book and turn it into a movie. Is that still kind of sitting in limbo somewhere?
Oh, yes. So the novel, the Transient in the Immortal Wake series, that got optioned, and it actually made it into development. And it was getting to the point where there were some production vibes starting. There were acting contracts written, and there was actually starting to get some legitimate traction. Now, of course, anyone who has ever been optioned knows that is just an absolute, dart into the blackness of, whatever happens. No one knows what's going to happen with that. So it was just nice to, have that kind of recognition. But once it got into development with Voltage Pictures, the same ones that did The Hurt Locker and Dallas Buyers Club, it started to get rolling. Contracts were being written, and then the pandemic hit.
Yes.
And everything came to an absolute screeching halt.
I see.
And it's been, and it kind of died on the vine, but it's technically still in development, technically still optioned.
I see.
They can revive it at any time, but right now
Okay.
there's like zero traction.
I see. Okay. Well, what an interesting journey. And then that does transition us right into Roy. Oh my goodness. So Roy is this lizard-like alien character who lives on the universe's, I love how it's the universe's largest space station. And I just wanted to talk briefly about how you designed this space station. It's a bunch of rings, basically almost like discs. And what even gave you that idea of how to design this universe's largest space station?
Oh, sure. I love talking about this. I've been thinking about it for years, so I'm going to go all nerdy about it. The easiest way I describe it, and actually one of the characters describes it, is like you think of like a stack of barbell plates with the biggest in the center and the smallest at the end. So it's almost like a spinning top with all the different rings having different different status, I should say. Like the more opulent live towards the center, the more crazier things live towards the poles, and then you have the core, which is like the shanty kind of area. But the whole start of this was, and this I should clarify, is Pookie Horpocket Presents is a spin-off series from one of my other series, Max in the Multiverse.
Okay. Yep.
So Durangoni Space Station started in book 2 of Max in the Multiverse at the very beginning. And what I needed was a really crazy, inciting incident, and B, an absolute bonkers setting in order to set off the events that I wanted to tell in book 2. And that bonkers setting became the Durangoni Space Station. And of course, in writing through the first several chapters, I needed to have a decent understanding of how it worked, to the point where I'm going to dive into the mechanical structure and atmospheric conditions, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I just needed the auto, as we like to say in IT, the auto magical explanation of how it worked. And so I did that for the second Max book, and I put everything through an inciting incident where there was a whole bunch of destruction inside the station that involved the main characters from Max in the Multiverse. And that started this seed in my brain of thinking about this station that I couldn't shake. I just loved thinking about how this colossal station actually functioned and see if I could actually iron out some more details. And that became the impetus for Pookie Horpocket Presents. So it's just like I kept thinking about the characters on the station. I kept thinking about the mechanics on the station. And then I got this funny idea of, well, this mess that the Max and the Multiverse crew created has to be cleaned up by someone. So, so that ended up being the character launching point for Roy. So that incident in the second book of Max actually started the events of that book and this book.
And one thing that I have to tell you, part of what makes the read so riveting is the way you've laid out your book is Pookie Horpocket is a journalist. And he is on, searching for answers of, okay, how exactly did this happen? Who is this Roy character? Because when the book starts, Roy is missing. And people are kind of hailing him like this hero, but Pookie Horpocket is like, I don't think that's actually true. I need to get the story. I need to get the scoop. And so as he goes around interviewing different people to get different pieces of the story, it is just fascinating because each alien he interviews is this fascinating character, and they have their own just hilarious ways that they do things. I just love how you've set up this book, because it really does. It's just a page turner because of the whole setup. What even gave you the idea to have a journalist getting the scoop on what the incident was?
Oddly enough, it was the incident that sparked the idea for a journalist to tell it.
Oh yeah,
it was like that, those exposés, those investigative journalism kind of thing. Because I loved the idea of what the incident was. I had that idea of what it was before I started writing Roy's involvement in it. So it's just like, I just love this idea of some major disruption in this kind of sized environment. So I thought about the details of that, and then I kind of backtracked from there. And then in telling the story is like, this is really difficult to tell in a very linear way. Without absolutely boring the reader with like, and this, then this happened, and then that happened. So it's like, or I could actually tell it through an interview series, much like World War Z, if you've ever read that book. It's like, I think Max Brooks absolutely nailed the vibe in that book, because it's the telling of the story in the aftermath.
Yes.
And it was so effective in that book. I absolutely ripped it off. Sorry, Max. It was just so beautifully done and kept your attention so well, which is essentially just people talking about what happened. But it painted such a good picture. It was such an effective storytelling device that's just like, that's how I'm going to do this. That's how I'm going to get Roy going. That's how I'm going to get to the incident. It's going to be an interview series.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, Roy becomes a little bit larger than life, but then you even have scenes where the interview is happening, and then there's like a scene presented as if the reader is there with Roy, even guessing, because Pookie Horpocket even says, I'm doing some liberty here, what I think Roy might have been thinking when he was doing these. And so then scenes are presented as if they're just playing out with Roy, dialogue directly from him and his possible internal thoughts. It is very effectively done and very much a compelling way of writing this story. I don't want to spoil things, but do you want to talk about his very interesting defense mechanism? Because all I'll say is it's very weird, and it's a pretty interesting thing that you discover this very early on. Roy is a bit of a bar fighter. He likes to get into bar fights. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I think Duncan has the best line with that. This is Roy's best friend and kind of mentor on the station, and he's talking to Pookie Horpocket about how Roy gets around, and the topic comes up to this defense mechanism, and Duncan in his very Midwesterny manner says, "Ghost-eyed acid puke."
Yes.
Which just kind of kills the conversation for a moment, because and part of the not wanting to spoil things is there is a bigger picture going on with all of that. But I will say some of the weirder aspects of the book, it's effectively used. I think that's what's so important, is that you can have some weird stuff, but if it's effective, it's okay. People will often go with it with you. And so you've managed to do that really well. And this series, this is the first book. So is this series complete? How many books are in the series? Are there more coming? So the series is at the moment complete. And I'll there's a reason I say at the moment, because the whole series is not sequential. It's just a collection of books and shorts and novellas. So you can read any of them at any time. As like they share characters and settings, and of course they all share Pookie Horpocket doing the interview. But it's all profiling extraordinary beings on the station.
What a great connection for each book is that this character, the journalist, is going from. Yeah, I love that.
So the best way to think about it is, remember the old show Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous?
Yes.
So it's like, think about that for a planet-sized space station. It's like It's this Robert Hatch. Is that right? Is that the guy's name, Robert Hatch?
Oh, I can't remember.
Robin Leach. Oh, I was thinking of something else.
Okay, yeah.
So Robin Leach, interviewing, crazy characters for Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Of course, it's like, profiles, extraordinary beings, of, rich beings, that kind of thing. Of which Roy was one because he sparked the incident that everyone knows about in the station. And then there are other characters that I also profile. And then what happens is the fifth book, which is a novella, serves as the finale of Max and the Multiverse and Pookie Horror Pocket Presents. So all of those stories are coming together in one final book. But I say at the moment because there's absolutely no reason I can't, write these stories forever because they're independent of each other, and I've got notes upon notes upon notes of crazy characters that I could profile, ideas.
Well, I'm at your website, and I'm just going to read some of these titles. So we have Pookie Horror Pocket Presents Roy, the Most Chaotic Midlife Crisis in Cosmic History. That's the book we've just been discussing, and then there's Nimi. Am I saying that right? Nimi, When First Contact Becomes Last Call. Phil, A Maddening Chat with the Smartest Being in the Universe. Boo, The Greatest Bounty Hunter Ever to Sail the Black. And Max, Public Enemy #1 of the Fourth Dimension. These titles are fantastic. I love it.
Thank you very much.
Oh, so speaking of your website, ZacharyWheeler.com, this is where people can go and check out your books, order your books. Are you anywhere else in social media, or is the main place to go for people to check you out on your website?
Main place is my website. I was on social media way back when, but I have greatly simplified my marketing strategy, so I'm no longer on social media. The best way to keep in contact with me is the newsletter.
Awesome. Yes, I am hearing this more and more from authors that I'm talking to. There is a simplification happening, I think, for a lot of authors, that what seems to be the reason is that how can you focus on your writing if you're focused on keeping up with all your social media platforms?
Could not have said it better.
That seems to be a consistent message from a lot of the authors. So it's great to have another one kind of put that point in for everybody listening who maybe is an aspiring author or is an author finding themselves
it makes the marketing so much simpler.
Getting trapped in the vortex of social media. And I'm going to spell your name because you have a slightly different spelling. Zachry, and then last name Wheeler. ZacharyWheeler.com is where everybody can go. And I see you have a contact link there where I think that's how I contacted you is through the contact. So I can tell you it works.
Delightful to see your message.
Yes. I'm so thrilled to get to talk to you about this book. What is coming out next? Anything that you're currently working on that you can share with everybody, or any new releases coming up soon?
Yes, oddly enough, on the complete opposite end of the genre spectrum, I'm working on a horror anthology that will be out relatively soon. I don't even have a series name yet. It's just going to be a collection of shorts, a collection of horror shorts that has been on the back burner forever. So I was like, it's nice to kind of mix it up and work on those. So the first 3 are done. I'm now in editing mode, so I'm thinking probably by the end of the year, all 3 of those will be out.
And do you release all 3 at once? Are they kind of novella size?
Yeah, they're long short story, short novella sized, so they could be considered either or.
Awesome. Well, I just love it. So readers, get your copies from Zachary Wheeler. Go to his website, ZacharyWheeler.com, and get yourself a good laugh, because I know I did. Well, thank you so much, Zachary, for joining us at Joy on Paper Sci-Fi Hour, and I cannot wait to have you back on the show when there's more to talk about.
It'd be great to come back. It's been a very fun experience. Thank you very much again for having me.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye for now.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, well, this has been such a blast. Glenn, who is so patiently sitting here, I would love to say thank you again to you as well.
Thank you for having me.
As my first guest for the top of the half hour. And then Zachary, what a blast to talk to him about his humorous sci-fi. And it really is humorous. You've got to go read those. So get Glenn's book, get Zachary's book, and get reading. And if you're a writer, get writing and go ahead and put that book out there. Glenn and I both want to encourage you to do all the writing you can and go ahead and put it out. So thank you for joining us and have a great rest of your day.
WTAN, Clearwater,
FM 106.1,
WDCF, Dade City,
FM 102.3.
Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Steve Kathan. A heat wave stretched